Like Robert De Niro's onto something.
She thinks he's hot.
Googling Franklin Pierce. Well, I can't believe anything she says now.
Hoover. Hello and welcome to Nick and Kristen in the podcast. Happy 4th of July. I hope you got a good one, entertaining one. Ours was actually surprisingly packed with stuff to do for a kid.
Yeah, we had a pool out. We had our water slide out. There was tons of fireworks.
Yeah.
We did glitter tattoos at our house. We decorated cookies. I know. We still have our...
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun. The kids had lots and lots of fun. Lily didn't go to bed till like 11 o'clock at night. It was
crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
But it was very fun. It was very patriotic. Happy 250th America.
We did break the heart of a young child next door to us. So we invited him over the fence.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, come over, like come in the pool, hang
We
out
have
with
a
the
water
kids.
slide.
Yeah, and then we were outside and they came and rang our doorbell and didn't hear it. They sat there for 15 minutes
Oh my god.
and waited for us to answer the door, which I mean, I thought they could have heard us outside, but I guess they didn't, and we didn't. I checked my ring later, and they were just like sitting there.
But I mean, like my thing was like they're a next door neighbor, and like I assumed at some point that they were gonna yell over the fence, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're on our way. We're coming over." I even thought like they could just come through our gate because they had the invitation, like, come on over. Obviously, they probably weren't gonna just walk in through our front door.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. But so my heart was broken because I can only imagine how excited this little guy was.
Yeah, he's like 3 or 4.
He's like
something
about
that.
4, I think.
Yeah,
And so he like water slide. He hears all these kids laughing and stuff like that. You can smell the burgers being grilled. I just felt so awful.
It felt
and
terrible.
They eventually went off and did something. We saw them later that night. We kind of did fireworks a little bit with them, or kind of jumped on their fireworks.
Yeah.
But man, I just felt like this big when we didn't invite them in.
So we're sorry, but it's a way to celebrate, I guess. But other than that, it was a good holiday.
Yeah.
So we posted a video that we did on Friday, a little clip on our Instagram. If you're not following us on Instagram, please do so. It's at Nick and Kristen. Of Kristen listing the top 5 most boring presidents. She just came up with the presidents. Didn't have any reason why they were boring. Other
Just
than
like
the names,
I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
I forgot they were presidents. Whatever it was.
And so we got a lot of responses from people who do know a lot about presidents. And one in particular was Lindsay. And Lindsay jumps on our Instagram and was like, I know everything about presidents. Like, this is like a thing that I'm into. And so, like, we asked her to jump on the podcast. So Lindsay's on the podcast with us. Now, you wouldn't call yourself, like, you're not like a professional expert in
Not
this,
like a
right?
historian, right? Yeah.
So what's, like, how would you describe yourself?
I call myself a presidential enthusiast. I've even got an Abe Lincoln
That's cool.
right now, who's actually known for being one of the funniest presidents ever. Like, he was not a boring dude at all. He was, like, super witty. He also is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. So, like, not a boring dude at all. But anyway, so you can just call me like a presidential enthusiast. I got randomly interested in presidents when I was in college, and I just started researching first, like, the weird quirks about them, not necessarily their policies or anything like that. Now I know policies and all that stuff about them because I've been studying them for so long, but I've read books on them. I've listened to podcasts on every single one of them, documentaries. Like, I've really spent a lot of time getting to know them all.
Wow. That's like all of them? What do we got? 47 now? All 47?
Yeah. 45 men, 47 presidents, because we've had 2 non-consecutive presidents. But my party trick is, I can name them all back and forwards in order pretty quickly. And you can give me a number and I can tell you about, whoever was that number.
That's amazing. I want to do that like right now.
You want to make her do it, but we won't make you.
No.
Yeah. But so we did come up with a list of the 5. Well, Kristen did. I'm going to blame Kristen for this. She came up with the list of the 5 most boring presidents, and you disagree heavily with all of them. So if you got fun facts about each of them to make them less boring, that'd be great. All right. So the first one, what'd you say? John Tyler is the first one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So I've got wonderful stories, not wonderful, but interesting stories about all of these different presidents. And first off, the first thing I want to say that's interesting about your choices in presidents is that 4 out of these 5 would be considered in our bottom 10 worst presidents. So you are right there that there's a reason that we don't remember them, that we don't think of them like they are our more forgotten presidents, because they generally weren't good.
There you go.
So let's start with some stories about them. So John Tyler was the first president that you said is boring. And This isn't going to speak to whether they were a good president or not, although we've kind of established that most of these guys weren't. But some interesting things to know about John Tyler. First off, John Tyler was the first president to succeed a president who had died as the vice president. And before this, we had nothing in our Constitution that explicitly said this is what happens when a president dies.
Oh.
Okay, so we had
this
no
is like the first time we've encountered this.
We had no chain of command kind of thing.
We don't know what to do. People are saying, no, you're just an acting president. You're not really the president. And then John Tyler says, no, I'm the president. He goes and he takes the oath of office. And voila, we have a precedent that has now been followed for every single presidential death or resignation since.
Interesting.
Ooh, wow. Right. So technically, like, if a sitting president were to die right now, the vice president could be challenged, or was that kind of codified now? Like it was
codified after John Tyler. So John Tyler was the first one to be like, I'm the president, and not just the acting president. And so that is part of why we have the sequence that we have today.
I see. Okay.
But I have another good one for John Tyler that I actually think is an even better fact.
Okay.
And this one is, so John Tyler was the president in 1841. He was the first president to marry while in office. He was 54 years old when he married 24-year-old Julia Gardner. So big age gap.
You hate to see that.
I mean, he is the president, so he can pick and choose, right?
But anyway, he had 15 kids across his 2 marriages.
Damn.
One of his kids was born in 1853 when he was 63 years old.
Oh, okay.
That child married a 36-year-old woman when he was 71. And in 1928, when Lyon Tyler was 75, they had their child, Harrison Ruffin Tyler. Harrison Ruffin Tyler was alive until last year. So what that means is that the president in 1841 had a living grandson until last year.
Wow.
That's insane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like Robert De Niro's onto something then.
He's creating a lifelong legacy.
He's our next John Tyler.
Yeah.
I gotta wait. So when I get to 80, Kristen, we have to borrow somebody.
Well, you're gonna need another woman at that point.
That's why they married such young ladies.
Yeah.
That must be why.
Okay.
I'm sure it was just for the air.
Now, I don't remember who else was who was my second. Do you have my list?
Yep, I got your list.
Okay.
All right. So our next one is Martin Van Buren.
Okay.
Yes, Van Buren.
First off, his nickname was the Little Magician because he was a 5'6" short king.
Hey, I'm 5'6". That's not that short.
He was known for weaving political deals. He was called a magician because so adept at weaving these political deals. Okay. He is, in fact, basically foundational to the development of the modern Democratic Party. So, the Democratic Party doesn't exist as it is today without not just Martin Van Buren, but including Martin Van Buren.
Okay.
But the one that is the more fun fact is actually the popularization of the term okay.
We owe it?
Okay. Now you got me.
Yeah.
The first one was still making him, it was still boring after that. This one I'm in. All right, tell me about it.
So he was born and raised in Kinderhook, New York. His nickname when he was an older dude was Old Kinderhook. And so the theory of where okay came from didn't come from him. It's been attributed to the Choctaws. It's been attributed to the Greeks. But the modern okay is supposed to have come from a joke in the Boston Morning Post that said that okay was a misspelling of all correct. OLLKORRECT, all correct. During the 1840 campaign, his supporters basically started saying it was okay, all correct, stamp of approval to vote for Martin Van Buren. Meanwhile, the opponents were saying, Andrew Jackson, who was his successor, is just okaying all these bills because he can't even spell all correct. He's a moron. And ultimately, we get Martin Van Buren signing off okay, his nickname, on a whole bunch of bills. And this leads to the popularization of the term okay.
Interesting. That's fabulous.
Right. I might have, well, you said he was still a bad president, but so I was almost going to remove him from, it's less boring. I'll say okay, and I'll think of him
You'll
now.
say okay, yeah.
I'll think of Van Buren. Number 3, which one was 3?
All right, number 3 is a pretty good one. So I've got 2 for you on Millard Fillmore. First off, there is a myth that Queen Victoria said Millard Fillmore was the most handsome man she had ever seen in his life, or in her life. And if you look at him, he actually looks a lot like Alec Baldwin.
Okay.
But she did not actually say that. She basically was like, he was the most courtly and elegant, of mannered of any American presented at court, which is a huge compliment for him. He's got well-mannered, but it's also basically saying you Americans are a bunch of uncultured rubes.
Yeah,
It's
so it's a backhanded compliment.
He did specify Americans. Like,
Yeah,
you're the best American we can get.
Yes. Yes. But the American press basically launched on this, and they were like, oh, she said he was well-mannered. She said he was handsomely mannered. She thinks he's hot.
Yeah. It's a typical American press. We're looking for the juicy, salacious headlines.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
Queen Victoria wants to knight our president.
Which is funny because his successor, Franklin Pierce, was actually the hottest president they'd had around that time period. Handsome Frank.
Your opinion or everyone else's opinion?
I think it's pretty good consensus for like that time period. Franklin Pierce was definitely the best looking of all the presidents.
Googling Franklin Pierce.
Franklin Pierce relatives.
Franklin Pierce was a horrible president because his son was decapitated on the train in front of him right before he became president. So he was an alcoholic the entire presidency. Anyways, he wasn't on your list, but that's a story.
Oh my gosh.
Well, he wasn't boring.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So the other good one for Millard Fillmore is that he's probably one of the best rags to riches stories we have of any president. Okay. He was born dirt poor. He was born in a log cabin. And at 14 years old, he was sent to apprentice for this cloth maker that was notoriously awful, notoriously abusive. He was basically used for free menial labor. It was as close to slave labor as you could get without actually being enslaved. At 14, a few months later, he basically walked off. He said, to hell with you. I'm not doing this. He walked 100 miles home in the winter blizzard from this apprenticeship when he was a teenager. So following that, his dad was like, no, we're still poor. You have to go apprentice somewhere else. So he sends him to another cloth maker, not quite as bad. But by the time Millard Fillmore is 19 years old, this judge is like, this guy's really smart. I think he should study law under me. And so Millard Fillmore is able to consider this judge to loan him $30, which is a huge amount back at that time to give
much college cost back then. $30. Yeah.
And to give a 19-year-old, he loans him the money to buy himself out of this apprenticeship. Oh, wow. And by 23 years old, he is a successful lawyer.
That's really interesting.
I feel like the 100 miles is blown out of proportion. It's very much like I walked both ways uphill.
Yeah,
to
do
school.
we know?
I
do we
walked
have
100 miles in a 100-mile blizzard. Oh, we know
do
this.
know based on the location of where this cloth maker was and the location of where his home was.
He didn't just hitch a ride on a horse?
Yeah, right. Closest buggy. I feel like everybody walked 100 miles back then, right? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But that's all right.
I don't know.
Wow.
I think the people around were too poor to have a horse and buggy, probably.
I would imagine, yeah.
Well, someone call Lin-Manuel Miranda. I want a movie about that one.
I know, right?
That sounds interesting.
They could all have their own movie, frankly.
Yeah.
For you.
Well, now that I'm learning about them too, it's like they're all fascinating.
All right, I think Arthur was the second one, right?
Okay.
Let's get to the next one. So you are spot on in saying Arthur is probably the most notable of these guys. Again, he's not the most notable. He is one of our more forgotten presidents. But I will start by saying that most recently there was a series called Death by Lightning, and he was played by Nick Offerman. No boring man is getting played by Nick Offerman.
That's very true.
All right.
So he's very manly, very rugged.
Yeah.
How would we describe him?
Have you seen what he looks like? Have you seen those mutton chops?
I've seen Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
So the interesting story about one of the interesting stories about Chester Arthur is that he was basically the poster boy for political corruption and like the Republican machine of the 1870s. So in the 1870s, 1880s, there had gotten to this point where there was a thing called the spoils system. And the spoils system was basically you give your buddies political positions. If they're loyal to you, if they're going to do what you want, that is how you get political office. And
it ended there.
Yep, never happened again.
Never happened again. It's perfect today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As it always has been.
But there were no rules. There really were no rules. You could do whatever you wanted here. And so there was a big battle within the Republican Party, which was the Progressive Party at that time period. And you have the stalwarts who are saying, no, I like my spoil system. Let me put whoever I want there. And the reformers saying, we should probably have exams for this. We should have rules for getting these positions based on merit.
Yeah.
And so Chester Arthur is basically a stooge of this. He is in this system because of that. He got rich from corruption while basically handling 2/3 of the nation's tariffs. And he ends up being the vice president on the vice presidential ticket of James Garfield, who is a strong reformer. He wants to take down the spoil system. And the stalwarts are so mad that they're like, okay, fine, we will give you Chester Arthur. He can be on the ticket as VP. And the stalwarts are pissed about this. And they're like, don't take this. And Chester Arthur basically says, this is the best position I'm ever going to get. I'm taking it. Like, no one is ever going to give me anything better than this. So fast forward, they win. James Garfield is assassinated within the first year of that president by a man who was mentally unstable and believed that this spoil system was going to give him a government position. He was like, if Arthur is president, I get a position. And he assassinates Garfield.
How did I not know Garfield was assassinated? Yeah, is that, I thought there was only two, but there's a third. Is there more than that?
No, and I'm actually going to get to that when we talk about Harrison.
Okay.
After this assassination, Arthur is like, holy crap, this is my fault in some ways. Like, this is my fault for basically abiding by this system of spoils. And this man who assassinated someone because of the spoils system, because he thought he could get this position. And he feels so incredibly guilty about this system. And this lady, Julia Sand, starts writing him these letters saying, you are better than this. You can rise above the system that brought you into power. And he even went and visited her in secret. Like, basically, Julia Sand's letters are known for being the tipping point. And so even against everything that brought him into power and the stalwarts that he was a part of, he ends up signing the Civil Service Reform Act in 1883. Which established that government jobs need to have more based on merit to be allowed to be given to people. So it's a really big deal for this time period that's not remembered. And the quote about him is, no man ever entered the presidency so profoundly and widely distrusted as Chester Alan Arthur, and no one ever retired more generally respected, alike by political friend and foe.
Wow.
That is interesting.
That's amazing.
Very
Although
much,
it was a woman behind it. So let's give her credit, please.
Isn't there always?
Yeah, that's true. Very much
is.
Like the Scrooge story, where like
he was visited by three ghosts.
Three ghosts for the past brother. He's like, oh God, I gotta change this.
Just like that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
All right.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
Final guy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Our last guy is William Henry Harrison. The first thing that is the most known about him is that he gave the longest inaugural speech in history. It was an hour and 45 minutes at his inauguration, and he had the shortest presidency. He was only president for 31 days. Mm-hmm. So the funny myth everyone likes to say is, well, he did this really long speech in the freezing rain and he died and got pneumonia from it.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
That's not actually what happened.
Okay.
He didn't get sick for 3 weeks after that speech. You don't get pneumonia 3 weeks after doing something. And he actually died from gastric issues that were more likely related to typhoid fever, which was rampant because there basically was sewage intermixing with Washington, D.C.'s water.
Fun.
Super nasty. And he's not the only president to be believed to have died from this. 3 presidents later, Zachary Taylor also dies from stomach-related issues. Actually, right before him, James Polk also died from stomach-related issues right after finishing his presidency. And then Abraham Lincoln's 11-year-old son dies when Lincoln is in office from the same thing. So basically, the ship killed everybody in D.C.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah. So why didn't they fix that?
Well, did they know? Did they realize that it was
the time before cleanliness?
It took a really long time. I actually listened pretty recently to a book that was all about plagues. And it went through the discovery that there were certain areas that were not using, like they were using their own wells and they weren't getting typhoid fever. And that pretty much led to the discovery because at the time they didn't know if it was a contagious, infectious thing that just spread from being around people. So yeah, but anyways, we had at least 3 presidents that died from toxic sludge in DC's water.
Gross.
And so then how many presidents were assassinated?
Yeah.
So actually, that takes me to my final story, which this is probably my favorite story. Whenever someone asks for a presidential fun fact, I give this one.
Oh, okay.
And it is related to William Henry Harrison. So this is called the Curse of Tippecanoe. So William Henry Harrison was a general prior to his presidency, and he led troops against the Shawnees, a Native American tribe, who were led by Chief Tecumseh, who is also a pretty famous name in history.
Yeah.
So he led the American troops to defeat the Shawnees at the Battle of Tippecanoe. And according to lore, there was a Shawnee named the Prophet who cast the curse of Tippecanoe. He basically said that Harrison would die in office, and any president elected in a year divisible by 20 would die in office. So we get 1840, William Henry Harrison dies. 1860, Abraham Lincoln is assassinated. 1880, James Garfield is assassinated. 1900, William McKinley is assassinated. 1920, Warren Harding dies from a heart attack. 1940, Franklin Roosevelt dies from his myriad of things leading up to then. 1960, John F. Kennedy is assassinated. And then finally, 1980, elected President Ronald Reagan, he is shot and he almost dies.
Right.
Interesting.
The curse is broken because he survived due to modern medicine.
Really? That's crazy.
Okay.
Nancy Reagan was actually terrified of the curse when he was running, and when she knew that he was going to be elected in 1980, she famously had this crazy astrologer that basically dictated, this is when you're going to land your plane, and all sorts of wonderful things that we're dealing with today from the Reagan administration came from that astrologer. But a big part of it is that he was terrified of this curse.
Okay, that is a pretty fun fact. That's I'm gonna have to start dropping that if anybody asks me for. I don't know why anybody would ask me for a presidential fun fact, but if they do, I got one. That's okay. That's pretty cool.
That is a very cool fact. Well, I mean, thank you so much for, first of all, seeing this and then providing us some information on why these presidents are not boring. I'm assuming there's no boring president.
Well, I warned you before that we're gonna ask you. So who, according to you, is the most boring president?
I truly don't think there is a single president that is boring. Every single one of them had interesting lives, because I think you have to be a little weird and a little crazy to even want the job, right?
It's true, yeah.
This is a very political answer coming from you, but yes.
It's like nobody.
All of them. And that doesn't mean crazy is bad. I mean,
right.
But there is an element of weird. There's an element of crazy. There's an element of power seeking that you need to want to become president. I looked really, really hard. I think if I had to pick one, sadly, it's probably Benjamin Harrison.
Okay.
The reason I say this is because Benjamin Harrison is basically locked in between Grover Cleveland's two presidencies, kind of similar to Joe Biden, where he's in between Donald Trump's two presidencies. Yeah. So he gets very overshadowed in history. So his historic achievements are a little overshadowed, but at the same time, he added 6 states to the Union, which is a pretty big deal. I grew up in that's my state because of Benjamin Harrison. But the reason I would say he probably was more boring is because his nickname was the human iceberg, because he was known for being notoriously cold and just hard to get to know. Although it is said he was actually really warm and friendly and witty with his family. So
you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of Harrison.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
All right, well then, who's the most, I didn't warn you about this one, who's the most interesting president? Who's your number one? When people are like, I gotta know who the most interesting president to ever live was.
So I think my dual answer here is probably going to be a combination of Theodore Roosevelt and Andrew Jackson.
Okay. Oh, Andrew Jackson. Okay.
I
get Roosevelt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Roosevelt's obvious. He's like a real American, woodsman, and he got shot and did a 90-minute speech with a bullet in him before he went to the hospital. So many amazing stories about Theodore Roosevelt. Andrew Jackson was just batshit crazy. There's no other way to say it. Andrew Jackson is one of the most insane people that has ever held the office. And he did some really good things, and he did some really terrible things. Some of the funnier, lighter stories about Andrew Jackson, one includes that his parrot had to be removed from his funeral because his parrot wouldn't stop cursing.
I've heard that. Yes.
Another good Andrew Jackson one is that his father died before he was born, and the guys who were bringing his body back lost the body. Like they got drunk and they just kind of misplaced Andrew Jackson's dad's body and they had to go search for it. And I think they found it in a creek.
This has been fascinating.
Yeah, I applaud your dedication to the president.
Thank you. They're really interesting. And again, like, I think you can look at it from the aspect of like, oh, the policies and all of that stuff is not interesting to me. But like, who doesn't love people with these weird, quirky stories about their dad's bodies getting lost and decapitated children and cursing parents?
Seriously.
It's true. I don't know what I'm going to do with all that.
They need to make a bunch of Netflix docs.
Yeah.
Then I'll watch them.
100%. Or a musical.
Or a musical.
Yeah, I mean, Lin-Man. He's the man.
Yeah. Lin-Man, call him.
Yeah, exactly.
Call Lindsay,
call her for sure.
She'll give you all the info. All right. Well, now I have to make you do it. Give me the presidents in order.
Not all in order. We don't have time for that.
It's a fun parlor trick.
Rapid,
It's real quick.
rapid fire.
I can do it in under a minute.
All right. Let's go.
All right.
Okay. All right. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, James Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford Hayes, James Garfield, Chester Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, Grover Cleveland, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump.
Wow, it's amazing. I forgot about Grant.
Oh, he's one of my favorites.
I didn't start recognizing names until Roosevelt.
Till the 80s.
I was like, oh, Roosevelt. I got that. I got that one.
Who was
George
number
Washington.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Who was number 31?
Number 31 is Franklin Roosevelt. No, I am wrong here. It's Herbert Hoover.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't believe anything she says now.
Hoover.
No, it's Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover is the he would have been recognized as one of history's greatest heroes if he had never been president.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting. That on the next episode.
I know.
Of Nick and Kristen in the pocket. I know. Well, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it. And yeah, I gotta go learn something.
Yeah, I mean,
feel
my
like-
goodness, we've got to learn some history over here.
I feel dumb.
I feel
Well,
dumb that I said
hopefully
those
you
were
learned
boring people. So thank you for correcting me.
No person is actually that boring. I think everybody's got a little something to them.
You haven't met Nick.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty boring. Thank you to Lindsay again for jumping on our podcast, which is brought to you, by the way, by the Clark County Trash Pandas. If you want to see basketball live and in person for hecka cheap, the season starts in March. It's going to be exciting. Get your Trash Pandas gear. Get your shirt, your hat, whatever you need to get to support the Trash Pandas at ClarkCountyTrashPandas.com. Thank you to our one and only sponsor. Despite us telling them not to sponsor us, they keep on sponsoring us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And so go check them out as just like a reward for them choosing correctly. I don't know. If you know anything, you know what? We should invite more experts on the show.
Sure.
So if you know fun facts like Lindsay does about whatever it is
well,
that you know
hold
about.
on. I don't want just anybody coming on.
I mean, I'm not here to learn.
If
so.
something jumps out at you at our podcast, or if you're like, wait, that was wrong information, please reach out to us on our Instagram at Nick and Kristen. Correct us, and you might find yourself on the next episode of Nick and Kristen.
There's one thing we love. It's being corrected.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.